In recent times, cops have often done crazy things that have shocked ordinary citizens, which you must see to believe. Sometimes they go beyond the boundaries of the law to show their arrogance, but their actions don't always go unpunished. In this video, we witness a shocking incident where state police in Woodstock, Illinois banned journalists from the entire state during a First Amendment audit. A journalist, determined to exercise his First Amendment rights, encounters resistance from both local and state police. What begins as a routine audit swiftly escalates into a clash of authority and constitutional liberties.
If you guys are going to keep trying to wage war on my rights, well, that's what it feels like and seems like.
But you just said we're not here for feelings.
You're not here for who?
Feelings.
You agreed, right? You concurred. You said you're not here for feelings, but you're saying these people might feel.
You're breaking a policy that jeopardizes personal information. Now, is that a law? No.
That's all I want to know. Is it a law?
Correct.
If it's not a law, then I'm not breaking the law. Because there's three things about a policy, officer. Policy is not a law. It doesn't have the force of law. And if I ignore the policy, that's not breaking the law. Period. We have laws and you guys swore an oath to uphold. And this is what I'm saying about a lot of officers.
During the interaction, the journalist engages in a discussion about the legislative process and the role of law enforcement in making laws. When the journalist asks the officer who makes the laws, the officer mistakenly suggests it's the judge. However, the journalist politely corrects her, clarifying that the actual authority lies with the legislature. This exchange highlights the significance of accurate information and understanding the separation of powers within our system of governance. By emphasizing that law enforcement officers, including the police, do not have the authority to make laws, the journalist underscores the importance of clarifying roles and responsibilities. This serves as a reminder that the legislative branch holds the power to create laws, while law enforcement officers are tasked with upholding and enforcing them. Understanding the separation of powers ensures that our rights are protected and that accountability remains a crucial aspect of our democratic society.
You just said making new laws, right?
Correct.
Just all I want to know, who makes laws?
Illinois. The judges, they determine what's right and what's wrong. What's going to be a law?
Legislators, right? That's the appropriate word. My point is, are you two legislators? That's all I want to know. All right, then.
But we start the case law process.
Well, you can say that, but don't say you make the laws.
We never said we make.
He just said it. He said
we make case law. Case law.
Right.
Case by case basis, which creates
Okay,
the laws.
case law is just the word case is just a prefix of the whole thing of
Yeah, but
the.
we never once said we make the laws.
Well, he said make case law. That's still law.
Correct, but it's based off of cases that
That's correct.
we have our hands in.
So let me ask you this:
So-
you're saying just say
Yes.
when you guys make arrests, right?
The plot thickens as the woman police officer playfully backpedals, claiming that she never made the statement about lawmaking. The journalist, with a mischievous grin, points out that it was the other officer who made that claim. Ah, the twists and turns of this encounter. With a nod of agreement, the other officer confesses to his words. It's a lighthearted moment that brings a touch of humor to the discussion. The journalist, in his witty style, playfully suggests that the woman officer was valiantly defending her colleague, showing a united front even in the face of a harmless misunderstanding. Now, a new cop enters the scene, adding a fresh twist to the encounter. With a stern tone, he confronts the journalist, asking if he is refusing to leave. Quick-witted as ever, the journalist calmly states that he will leave once they provide information about the law they are implementing. However, sensing a shift in the conversation, the other cop skillfully changes the topic, questioning the journalist about permission to film the scene. The journalist chooses not to dignify the question with a response, leaving the cop momentarily stumped.
Asking me to leave. Like I just told, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say it like I just said to them. After I get my shots, I'm going to leave.
After your shots, what?
Yeah, after I get a couple more shots.
Oh, gotcha.
I got that side already and got this center, so I'm done here. But
You're under the impression that you can videotape, correct, here?
it's a law that you can't. Only way you can't record is people's. The testing sites.
Right, but there's no way to prove that on our end because the cell phones are so good, right? So
What the Secretary of State Police made clear to me is that the Secretary of State's office is not considered a public forum because there's so much sensitive information in the facility. So they have a detective coming out here right now so they can explain it better.
Now, the cop plays his trump card, warning the journalist that he will be arrested if he does not choose to leave. He argues that the security department houses sensitive information, and remaining there would violate the rules. The tension mounts as the journalist weighs his options. Will he back down or continue to assert his rights? The stakes have never been higher as the clash between freedom of the press and security regulations unfolds before our eyes. The other cop attempts to clarify the situation by explaining that the case law is specifically implemented for the DMV under the jurisdiction of the Secretary of State's office. Sensing an opportunity, the journalist astutely points out that the officers are merely asking him to leave and not issuing a lawful order. The cop, somewhat reluctantly, agrees with the journalist's observation.
So let me just get this right. You're saying it's case law
Correct.
specifically for the DMV,
Correct.
Secretary of State's office.
Correct. Specifically for that.
Okay, specifically. And if, after they come here and ask me to leave, and I, because they're going to ask me to leave.
Correct. They're asking us to ask you to leave. But
Well-
if you choose not to, they're coming out here. They're coming out here regardless.
Okay, well, watch this. If you guys are asking, it's not a lawful order to leave, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
The cop pulls out his phone to show the journalist a specific case law tied to the Secretary of State's office. The journalist, quick on his feet, acknowledges that the law allows for detention. He points out that the cop indeed showed him the information, leading to a moment of confusion for the officer. The journalist seizes the opportunity to further his point, noting that while detention may be a possibility, it does not negate his right to remain on the scene. The cop, perhaps taken aback by the journalist's knowledge, concedes that the journalist can indeed be detained, but adds that if he refuses to leave, they could potentially arrest him on criminal charges.
It has to specify to the Secretary of State's office, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Just because of the personal nature of what's being transacted, like we discussed this entire
Man, you know what? They can do that everywhere.
The sergeant reiterates his demand for the journalist to leave the premises, emphasizing that the Secretary of State's office is not a public property where anyone can freely exercise their rights. The tension escalates as the sergeant, growing more assertive, once again threatens the journalist with arrest if he refuses to comply. The situation reaches a boiling point as conflicting perspectives collide head-on. The sergeant firmly stands by his position, stressing the restricted nature of the office and the consequences that may follow if the journalist chooses to remain. The journalist, unwavering in his belief, continues to assert his rights and challenges the sergeant's authority.
Any one of you officers right now today say, if you don't leave, sir, you're going to be placed under arrest. That's all I need for standing, and I'll book out. It's cool.
That's all I want to read. I want to make sure that that's...
Okay. No, you ain't even got to, I'm telling you now, you only got to wait for that. You can just say it. You say it now, I'll book out now. Oh, I understand fully. I'm not talking over him. We're both doing it. Because I'm just saying. Like, okay, go.
As the verbal exchange intensifies, the journalist confronts the sergeant, accusing him of impeding his freedom of movement in his role as a sergeant. The journalist argues that he has a valid reason to enter the office, which is to document the building. However, the sergeant dismisses the journalist's claim, asserting that he has no obligation to do so. The sergeant presents a document stating that cameras and recording videos are prohibited within the office. The journalist requests a copy of this paper, seeking evidence of the prohibition. However, he is denied the requested copy by the officers.
Here's basically from the Illinois Secretary of State Police right here. Photography, video recording, SOS facilities prohibited. So here's this. Is this his copy? Can he use this, or do you want to keep this copy?
They don't want that's internal.
Oh, they don't want me to have a copy.
You just videoed it.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying.
Due to personal identifying information and sensitive documents.
Oh, come on, Sarge. That's Sarge. You see how that looks, man? Come on, man. I can't.
just read it to you.
I'm just saying, I can't read it.
Okay. Well, you told me after I saw that you would leave if I asked you to leave. So therefore, I'm telling you, you have to leave now, or you're going to get arrested.
And what would I be charged with?
You'll be charged with violation of
What would be the charge?
It's Criminal trespass.
Criminal trespass.
So if I don't leave, you're telling me as a sergeant, I'm gonna be arrested for criminal
You'll
trespassing.
be arrested for
If I
criminal
continue to
trespass
stand in
for
here and exercise my
continuing to
rights.
record inside the Secretary of State's office.
Okay.
As the journalist makes the difficult decision to leave the office, he expresses his frustration, emphasizing that the officers were impeding his right to exercise his constitutional freedoms. Despite firmly believing that he was on the right side of the law, he faced relentless threats of arrest from the officers. Undeterred by the challenges he faced at the office, the journalist takes a bold step by visiting the police department to file a final complaint against the officers who violated his rights and threatened him with handcuffing. This courageous act serves as a testament to his unwavering commitment on seeking justice and holding law enforcement accountable for their actions. The journalist confidently enters the police department and seeks out a person to address his concerns. He politely inquires if a lieutenant is currently available, expressing his intention to make complaints and discuss the violation of his rights by the officers dispatched to the DMV. The person he approaches appears curious, asking for clarification on the purpose of the complaints. Undeterred, the journalist asserts his need to make his voice heard, emphasizing that the actions of the officers violated his rights. Recognizing the importance of his concerns, the person requests the journalist's patience and asks him to wait.
Hello, is there a lieutenant or someone I can speak with?
About
I just have a couple of different concerns and complaints that I need to make the lieutenant or someone of a higher authority, make them aware of what just occurred with a few of his officers that were dispatched to the DMV.
okay. All right. Let me ask. What is your name?
My name is James. Yep.
Now, the journalist finds himself face to face with the sergeant once again. The sergeant, with a quizzical expression, asks the journalist why he's here to complain, seemingly unaware of the gravity of the situation. The journalist boldly asserts that his rights had been violated at the DMV. With an air of playful banter, the journalist elaborates on the series of events that unfolded during his encounter with the officers at the DMV. As he recounts the details, he injects humor and wit into his narrative. And now, the long-awaited moment arrives. The deputy chief enters. The journalist seizes the opportunity to present his case, confidently explaining that he was exercising his First Amendment right at the DMV and recording it for the public's benefit. With passion in his voice, the journalist recounts how the sergeant threatened him with arrest simply for exercising his rights in a public lobby. He expresses his frustration, emphasizing that such actions undermine the very principles of law enforcement.
Quick, I was out at the DMV just a few moments ago. Four of you officers from here were dispatched there because I was exercising my First Amendment right to record in public. A few personnel there came out and voiced their opinions on me recording in public. They didn't like
They
it.
have special restrictions and say you can't record while you're in here.
Okay.
Right? And they ask you to leave.
Mm-hmm.
That leads into criminal trespass.
Okay, so basically you're saying if they have a policy of not recording, and then they ask me to stop recording or leave, and I don't do either, then we can trespass you.
Correct.
Okay, so that's precisely what I thought. That's what that law was. Okay, so the thing is, though, when it comes to law, you can't convert constitution protected activity into a crime. You can't. You just can't do it.
The journalist asserts that the officer's behavior appears to be nothing more than a game played in the name of law enforcement. As the deputy chief weighs the journalist's claims, he acknowledges the importance of adhering to the written rules and regulations. With a firm stance, he asserts that if the guidelines are clearly stated, they should be followed without question. This declaration leaves the journalist feeling frustrated and disheartened by the lack of immediate resolution.
Required to contact Lieutenant Dricos at Illinois Secretary of State Police District 1 headquarters at 630-693-0551 to schedule an appointment at one of our facilities. Respectfully, Michael Bauer, Director of Driver Services Facilities.